Yeah, hey. Shipped from the shores of Cape Coast, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Senegal, black gold they were hauling. 400 years it was hard then. Kept striving to be free from Marcus the Bois. Can't forget Kwame. For reparations they did pray. To unite in their honor we do say, Yanko, Yanko, Africa. Yanko, Yanko, Africa. Yanko, Yanko, Africa. Yanko, Yanko, Africa.
Welcome to Yanko Africa. My name is Ama. I want to thank you for tuning in on today. If you are listening to us on any of our social media platforms such as YouTube, we greatly appreciate it, especially if you are a subscriber. Thank you very much. Go ahead and click the notification bell, please, if you haven't already. And you should be notified each and every time we upload a share. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but hopefully it will. So we ask you to go ahead and please click that bell. And also check us out on our webpage, which is www.yanko.africa or www.yankoafrica.com. Once again, that's www.yanko.africa or www.yankoafrica.com. All right, guys, so what I want to talk to you about briefly, okay? Briefly, because this is a touchy subject, and for those, especially those of you who are members of other channels who may have a strong Pan-African presence, you hear this discussion spoken about quite often, okay? I don't necessarily consider myself a Pan-Africanist because I think the definition for many people is subjective and the views vary on what a Pan-African is. I do consider myself to be pro-African. I consider myself to be pro-diaspora, pro-connecting with the continent, pro-assisting those of us who have been brought throughout and dispersed throughout the transatlantic, throughout the diaspora via the transatlantic slave trade, and those who have traveled from the continent who are living abroad. I support us connecting with our family back on the African continent and building a better and stronger Africa. Okay, so that's what I do support. That's what I believe. And I believe in allowing people to practice whatever religion and faith that they practice without, condemnation or criticism, even if it's one that came from those who are outside of the continent. Okay, so that's what I believe. That's what I stand on. I believe in just respecting other people in their religious beliefs. And so on our channel, on our platform, our own website, you'll see that that's one of our rules of operation. If you cannot respect another person's religion, then we will not, tolerate that. And we also suggest that we don't even discuss religion in depth like that. Okay. Now we will discuss religion at times as it pertains to things on the continent. Okay. If it's an issue, we don't avoid the subject altogether. And recruiting, we do not do that. And the same, we take the same measures when it comes to those who are strong advocates for nationhood over assimilation, okay? And the reason why we do this is because Yanko Africa, we truly and strongly believe in assimilation, okay? So just in case you don't know what we're speaking about, there are a group of members, people who are among the Pan-Africanists and not of any particular group or association. Let me make that clear, because there are a number of associations who consider themselves to be Pan-Africanists, right? But there are people who believe that those of us who have been dispersed due to the transatlantic slave trade, that we should have our own nation within a nation on the continent. Okay, that land should be given to us specifically so that we can start our own nation. We are Africans, but they believe that we should have our own nation, okay? And so, as you know, every nation should have their own kingdom or king, right? If we're going to do it the traditional way, and a lot of them are pro-traditionalists, okay? So that means we would have to have a king, okay? And then, because there is only, and I've spoken about this on my other channel, which isn't even dedicated to African issues, right? But I spoke about this because sometimes I would just upload shares on African topics. I spoke about Bir Tawil and why is it that black people never tried to go and get Bir Tawil, okay? So if you've never heard of Bir Tawil is a area of land located below below southern Egypt and above northern Sudan, okay? And it's an area of land where northern Sudan says we don't want it, and and Egypt says we don't want it, right? And it's basically desert land, okay? But you see also sometimes that shepherds are out there. There's some grass out there, but they go out there and they shepherd, they feed their flock, or they transport them when they're going between Egypt and northern Sudan. And history says that there is a well out there, a deep cistern well that was dug many years ago by the people who dwell there, right? And so this land is one of those of 3 lands where people could have gone and claimed it. In fact, one white man, I forget the country that he's from, claimed it, and it may have been the one from America, claimed it for his little girl, and he named it after his little girl, okay? And then there were 2 other places that were also available, but no one wanted to stay there because they were mostly inhabitable, okay? But my question has always been, where was the serious effort to try to at least claim Bir Tawil? Because see, Bir Tawil is going to require hard work. Bir Tawil does not have the best living conditions. You're basically out in desert land, okay? All right, but there is water there if you're willing to dig for it. And with the resources that we have from the diaspora, I often wondered why, if anything, we did not try to create a replica of our own kingdom, make it a resort site if you don't want to live out there, and you can have places where people can come and live for a season or, for a short time or long term, but I often wonder why we never seized on that opportunity and why people think that it's okay to go into an established nation, all right, and try to set up your own kingdom within that established nation. Listen, I have learned in my 16 years of going back and forth to the continent, which is a drop in the bucket for those who have been doing this for 30 years. I often chuckle when I hear people say we are the new people who are going and, we are the ones that are, laying the foundation. No, we're not. There are many people who have gone before us. I have one lady who I interviewed on another channel that I have who has been doing this for 30-something years, okay? And she is an African-American woman. And some people discount some of the things that people have done because they did it, for Christianity or missions. I don't discount anything. They put their foot on the continent, something that is a great accomplishment. And so if they did it for their faith or whatever, I still support them and I still stand behind them, okay? But here's what I want to say. Assimilation is the best option for us in the diaspora. One, because if you go to another nation and you try to establish your own kingdom, that's seen as a form of anarchy, okay? And a few other things, okay? But anarchy because you are denying the powers that are there, okay, first of all, and totally ignoring the system that's already in place, okay? And you want to discount it, and then you also want to set up your own kingdom, okay? That is a threat to national security. Even though you may think it isn't, it is. And I understand nationhood. I do. I am a Gullah. Gullahs went through the United Nation to be, for them to tell us that we're a nation. We already know that we're a nation, that we're a nation of people, especially in South Carolina and Georgia and the Florida area, which is really where Gullahs are along the coast. Everyone in those states are not Gullahs, okay? But particularly in South Carolina, we have a strong knowing of who we are as a people. And so we've spoken to the United Nations as a nation, okay, and recognized as a nation of people. We understand that. So you'll see things online that says the Gullah Geechee Nation, okay? I've said in the past that I think Geechee is a little separate, different than Gullah, but hey, they went together, they unified as the Gullah Geechee Nation, okay, to the United Nations. But that's another topic. But my point is that when you move to another continent and you move into, there's no place on the continent that you will go that you will not be in another nation except Bir Tawil, okay? And really Egypt or Northern Sudan have the right to claim that nation. They just, portion of land that is a separate nation, but they don't want to claim it. Okay, they don't want it. But any other place, you will be in a sovereign nation, and you cannot go in and establish your own nation within a sovereign nation. You can't. All right, and it's not even in your best interest, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, you're going to need other people, and you're going to need the locals. And I can tell you from 16 years of experience, as I was saying, when anything goes down and any problems occur, the one thing that they do is first thing is they revert to their own language, to the local language. Okay, so even if you learn the local language, you need to also be able to live among those who speak the local language, who can come and who also speak English, all right, who can tell you what's going on, what everyone is doing, and you can know how to act. And also you want to have that bond with them so that they will have your back. Okay, they will have your back and they'll be there for you. Believe me, community is big in Africa. Even if there are armed robbers, you want to be in a community where people have your back. People are going to come out for you. If you're being put out of your house, you want to be living among people who are going to stand up and come and stand up against your landlord if he's putting you out. Believe me, all of this happens on the continent, okay? And so if you don't have that assimilation with people who are natives of the country and you separate yourselves, you're going to be seen as different. And that's not our goal. Our goal is not to be different. Our goal is to be who we are, and they know who we are. They know our story. And if they don't, we can share our story. But we don't want to separate ourselves from them, okay? It's not in the best interest of us who are in the diaspora. It's not in the best interest of the continent. We are one people, one Africa, particularly those of us who are returning to nations that were, strongly affected and impacted by the transatlantic slave trade, okay? So my thoughts on nationhood is that it's not a good thing for the continent. It's not a good thing for us. In fact, it will probably have us flagged as terrorists, all right? And in some cases, I think rightfully so. If you try to go in and set up a nation within a nation and disregard the government of that nation and want to run and operate by your own rules, it's going to invite them to come out, and we're going to see things like how we see in America here with David Koresh and all these other stuff. And believe me, you may be sound-minded, but there's always going to be people who are not, and they're going to get the big head and want to establish their own kingdom and rules, and a whole lot of craziness is going to go on. And if you are someone who's wise, I would suggest that you don't disconnect from those people and say, you won't be friends with them or work with them on positive things, but be very careful with what you begin to identify with, because what you identify with is going to label you, okay? And it may cost you something that you don't want to pay, okay? So, and it may categorize you or get you in a situation that you don't want to be in. That's my thoughts. I respect yours and your opinion and your reasons for believing, if you believe in nationhood. But these are my reasons why I believe that whatever country you go into, choose carefully and be ready to be a part of that nation. You don't have to lose who you are as an individual. We don't have to lose our story, but be willing to be a part of that nation. Even if you decide to live out with people who are members of the diaspora, who are living in areas together, that's fine. But those people are also assimilated into those communities. They are not so much separating themselves and claiming to be a separate nation. All right, they're just living among their own people or among the familiar who as a support group, and from other reasons. Okay, and particularly I think the reasons that most of them choose to live out in a certain area is because they know things that we in the West know about certain areas and the value of those areas in the future. Okay, that's my thoughts. You have every right to have yours. Thank you for tuning in. Shalom.